welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to head back to the late 90s for a sequel. But before we get into it, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. Also, as always, a very shameless plug for my TeePublic and my Zazzle store. I'll leave a link for both of those in the description box below if you're so inclined. And today we're going back to 99, baby, for The Rage Carrie 2. Yes, I have this on DVD. The Rage Carrie 2 came out March 12th of 1999. It's rated R. It's an hour and 44 minutes long. Had a budget of $21 million, and upon release, it only made $17 million. Now, this movie had a little bit of a troubled production. This movie started off being directed by Robert Mandel. Robert Mandel had directed the FX in 1986 with Brian Brown and Brian Dennehy. I like that film quite a bit, actually. He also directed School Ties in 92, The Substitute with Tom Berenger in 96. He directed some TV, directed an episode of The X-Files and some other things as well. So he had a nice little solid career. He shot on this film for 2 weeks and left over creative differences, although the studio claimed they fired him. His story is that he left over creative differences. It doesn't really matter. He lasted 2 weeks and they had to find a replacement director. Ender Cat Shea came in. They hired her to take over. She had directed Poison Ivy up until this point, and she had a week to prep, and she had to go back and reshoot the footage that Robert Mandel had already shot. So she had a big job in front of her taking over this production. Now, starring in this film, we have Emily Burgle playing Rachel Lang. She is connected to Carrie White, and she is our Carrie White of this story. Jason London plays Jesse. He's a football player in this town. Amy Irving, who is the only actor or actress to come back from the original Carrie, plays Sue Snell once again, reprising her role from many years ago. Zachary Ty Bryant came in to play Eric, a football player and one of Jesse's friends, and his claim to fame was Home Improvement. Mina Servari plays Lisa. She is Rachel's best friend, and she would later, that coming summer, she was in American Pie. So Eddie K. Thomas, another American Pie alum, plays Arnie, one of Rachel's other friends, and he would be in American Pie later that year as well. And basically, the Rage Carrie 2 is, we see in the beginning of the film, Rachel as a young girl, and her mom is kind of a religious zealot and a little bit out of her mind. Her mom gets taken away by the authorities and put in an insane asylum, and Rachel gets taken and put in a foster home. Fast forward, she is now a senior in high school, and she's definitely, I got to give Emily Burgle credit. She plays this totally different than Sissy Spacek in the beginning, and I actually quite like her character quite a bit. She's a little bit of a loner, but she does have friends, and she's not this mousy wallflower type. She just avoids people. She's a little goth. You know, she definitely has a personality. She's not afraid of anything. She just wants to be left alone. And she works at this photo development place. And her friend Lisa is so excited. She tells Rachel that she lost her virginity to this boy, and she can't wait for Rachel to meet him that day at lunch. Well, unfortunately, there's something more sinister going on with the jocks in school. They have this contest going on where for each girl they sleep with, they get so many points. And they're going to see how many points they can accumulate by a certain point in the school year. And that's all Lisa was to Eric's character. And she finds this out, and she ends up self-terminating in a pretty tragic scene. And so now things are being looked into at school, and the football team is being looked into, and they're not the nicest guys. Now, Jesse is a part of this crew, but he is definitely somebody who doesn't fit in with the rest of them. Like, he's friends with them, but he's definitely the more, he's the one we could connect with the most. The rest of them are just complete pieces of trash here. And him and Rachel start up a relationship, and they like each other. And Jesse is in it. He's not trying to put her on or anything. He's not involved with he was involved with this list, but now he really likes Rachel, and they're developing a relationship. And one night they end up sleeping together, and unbeknownst to them, they were filmed by Jesse's friends, or so-called friends. They're not really great friends, obviously. And as the movie heads forward, Eric is blaming Rachel for him not going to be able to possibly get suspended, not be able to play football, and there's people coming to see him play to see if he gets a scholarship for college. So it all culminates because we have, Throughout the film, they set up that Rachel has telekinesis just like Carrie White did. We find out that her father was Carrie White's father. And just like in the first film, when we find out that Carrie White's dad left Carrie's mom, she had sex with Rachel's mom, and he brought those genes over, and Rachel has the same powers that Carrie White did in the original film. And Sue is trying to help her. She's the guidance counselor at this school. And we find out that she went to an asylum a little bit after the events of the first film because she couldn't get over the tragedy that befell, but she still wants to help the kids, and she still wants to help Rachel understand what's going on with her. But before anybody could help Rachel, it all culminates. These scumbags and the girls that they're involved with set up this gotcha moment at this party, and they they play the sex tape that they filmed with Jesse and Rachel on the screen, and they tell her that she was just points to Jesse, even though she's not. Jesse's not even there. He gets tied up with this other girl who's keeping him away from the party so they could pull this off. And this unleashes Rachel's powers, and she just starts killing everybody. And her mom shows up with Sue to try to stop her. Sue gets killed in the bloodbath that ensues. And at the end, Jesse shows up, tried to save Rachel. Rachel ends up dying, and a year later, Jesse goes off to college, and that is pretty much the end of The Rage Carrie 2. What to like about this film? Well, I actually like the cast. I think Emily Bergel is great here. I liked her character a lot, and I liked how she played it totally different than Sissy Spacek did in the first one. I think that was a really smart move by the filmmakers and the writers here. Jason London's good as Jesse. He's the likable football jock out of all the rest of them. Amy Irving back as Sue is a welcome return. She's good here as well. Everybody's good across the board here. The bloodbath at the end is really well handled. Now, obviously, some of the effects don't hold up as well. They had to use early CGI, but the blood effects and all that are great. The only thing that's hilarious about the end was originally the kids were supposed to go get guns out of the father's gun cabinet, and instead there's spear guns in this gun cabinet upstairs, and it's just a hilarious sight gag. It's not meant to be hilarious, but they go upstairs and they break the glass out of this gun cabinet, and there's spears in there, and I'm like, who keeps spears in a gun cabinet upstairs in a room? It just looks ridiculous because some executive didn't want them to use guns. Why, I have no idea, because it would have made way more sense for it to be guns in there. But they go with spears, and they're useless against Carrie. I actually think this is a decent sequel. Is it as good as the original? No. There are some downfalls, and it mainly goes with the directing and some of the scripting. There is moments in the film, there's some really well captured moments by Kat Shea, really well directed moments. And then there's other moments where it comes off a lot like a cheap, either direct-to-VHS movie or a TV movie. And you can't help but notice them. They stick out like a sore thumb when those moments happen. It just looks like all the style gets sucked out of the movie, and it looks like a cheap direct-to-video movie at points. And then at other points, it looks like a really, really good movie. So it's a little bit uneven in the directing department. I think the mayhem at the end is really well handled. There's some plot holes. Obviously, like, Sue takes Rachel to the old high school that burned down, and she asks her if she knows who Carrie White is. I'm like, if this happened in the same town, of course everybody knows who Carrie White is from all those years ago. Everybody had to have heard the story, so it's kind of silly in that aspect. But overall, I think this is a decent sequel. Again, it's not as good as the original, but there's a lot to like here, and anchored by Emily Bergel's performance. I actually quite enjoyed rewatching this film. It's been a while since I've seen it, but rewatching it, I enjoyed myself. I got to be honest. Sissy Spacek gave permission to the filmmakers to use some of the scenes from the original Carrie involving her. And those are basically from Sue having flashbacks to what happened in the original film. This was loosely based, like the football team's little contest of trying to get points for what girls they sleep with was actually loosely based on a true story. There was an incident with some jocks at a high school back in '93 where they were doing something very similar, and it was a sex scandal. So they kind of used that and wrapped it, put it in here, kind of loosely based on that. This film actually did not start off as a sequel to Carrie. It actually started off as an original idea for a film called The Curse. But the more they wrote the script and developed it, they realized it had a lot of similarities to Carrie. So they actually reworked the script and made it into a Carrie sequel. And unfortunately for them, nobody was really asking for a Carrie sequel. That's why it didn't do very well upon release. Although this was supposed to come out the Halloween in '98, but it got pushed back by the studio till March of 1999. So, and this is a very 90s movie, and I say that as somebody who loves 90s movies. It has the 90s soundtrack you hear blasting throughout the film where different bands are played. The clothing, the attitude, the way it's shot, and it's very 90s. This is a movie of its time period, and I'm fine with that. I'm just saying, as an aside, this is a very 90s movie. Overall, I actually enjoyed my time with this sequel. It's a pretty damn fun sequel. Again, not as good as the original. I am not claiming that. But at the end of the day, I had a good enough time with it where I'm going to give Rage the Carrie 2 a 7.5 out of 10. You could do a lot worse. It's not perfect. There's some issues here, again, with the directing in some parts, some of the scripting. But overall, and based on Emily Burgle's performance, I had a good time with this film. So yes, 7.5 out of 10 for the Rage Carrie 2. Have you ever seen this one? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with, I'm going to review the 2002 TV remake. And then we're going to do the other remake that came out not too long ago. And we're going to finish our Carrie review series. But until next time, bye.